Hey everybody, I hope you can hear this. This is the first Clockwerk Industries live podcast. I hope the quality is going through all right. That's one thing I was worried about when starting this was if maybe I should just film it and don't edit it, but just film it straight and then post it. But I don't know. We'll see how things go. I might end up doing that, but I wanted to have the ability for interaction and have the chat going and things like that. Sometimes that makes it a little better. I don't have a dedicated schedule for these yet. Right now, it's pretty much 100% random. I'm going to try to do it once a week. That's going to be the main goal, but things happen around the shop. I get too busy. What I might try to do is just make sure I at least get in a half hour every week. I want to shoot for an hour, and it really depends on what the topic's going to be and what I'm going to talk about and things like that. But I didn't even really do a big announcement on this one because I didn't really know how it's going to go. So if it does end up not working or something screws up, I can go back and I'll do another. I'll start it off on a more official, in a more official way. Right now in the shop, we're working on getting the CNC up and running. I might have bitten off a little more than I can chew. I tore down the electronics box, and that in itself isn't a big deal. But, for me, it's either do it right. It's hard for me to half-ass something and then put it together because it just bothers the hell out of me the whole time that I'm sitting there with it. So right now I'm kind of deciding how I want to put it back together. For right now, I'm probably just going to get everything installed in the box and then put it back in the under the CNC and just get it up and running. Like, that's the most important thing. Because I got a lot of work I got to do. But we'll see what happens. I wanted to make it do a little bit more professional. I wanted to get the computer mounted in the box with it and VFD for the spindle and everything like that. But that's just going to be a whole lot more work. So I think I'm just going to mount everything in the box, I'll get the drag chain hooked back up, get the water cooling hooked back up, and then just get it up and running because it's only going to be about another 6 weeks or so. And then I'm going to have I'm going to be running all new electronics, a new controller and everything. So that's the whole reason for the new box, is because I'm going to be going from stepper motors to AC servo motors, and I'm going to have to fit 3 big drivers in there for the motors. And it's going to take up a lot more space than I originally had for the last setup. The last setup's relatively no space at all. There's no breakout board. It's the Gecko G540, so it's a small little controller. Everything plugs into that, parallel port to the computer, and you're up and running. The Centroid controller, that's a relatively small size too, but then I got to have 3 big controllers for the AC servos from DMM, and it's requires a bigger box than I had before and all new wiring. I need to get relays and a bunch of different electronic components in there. But it won't be that bad. It'll just be better once I know exactly how I want to have it laid out and have more materials on hand. That was the other thing, is I was just looking at the electronics box. I knew I had to tear it down to at least clean it. But then I was like, I hated that box ever since I made it. It just didn't flow well with the water cooling for the spindle. I had the reservoir and the radiator were at different heights, and it was just kind of slapped together. The whole thing about the CNC was slapped together since I got it. And I kind of just got it up and running, and I had orders already, and I was like, all right, well, let's just go. And I needed to figure out how to use it as fast as possible. So I just got it up and running. So it ended up a whole mess of electrical and wire. I just kind of slapped it, got it up and running, and then I never did anything with it. I had plans to go and mod the whole thing, kind of like what I did with my 3D printer over here. I'd go back and 3D print upgrade parts for it. I sleeved all the cables. I wanted to do that same kind of thing with the CNC, but I just never had the time to do it. So I just left it as is and started working with it, and it's been that way for 4 years now. So I really wanted to tear that thing down and get it all put back together the right way, but it turns out I'm just going to have to put it back, just slap it all back together and get it up and running. So either way, I want to get it done by today because I got a lot of production work to do, and I want to start taking custom orders again. And that's kind of one of the topics I wanted to talk about. I get a lot of emails. I think I don't even know what it's at right now, 50 or 60 emails stacked up waiting to get the machine up and running for to take custom orders again. And, a lot of people send me a lot of different things when they want to get something made, a variety. Some people send me just a whole big paragraph, a description of what they're doing. And some people send me a rough sketch drawn by hand. Some people send me a fully functional 3D model in Fusion 360 ready to go. And that's kind of where I need to get a different way of doing things, because I'm in talks with Metal Jeff Mods, and what I want to try to do is have him help me out with doing the design work, because I really don't have time to do that. What I'm trying to do is work on designing a lot of products for Clockwerk Industries, so I can do more production work, get my products for sale on my website and other places like Mainframe Customs and stuff like that. So I need to get more time to do that kind of design work. So it's going to take away from the client custom order design work. So I'm about to have a conversation with Jeff here soon, and we're going to try to iron out how we're going to do this, and whatever way makes the most sense. I got him a Clockwerk Industries email so I can get him in the loop with the client as soon as they come in for a custom order or send in the data that they want. I can send it off and talk to Jeff, and then he could talk back and forth with the client to try to get a model ready. So basically by the time it gets to me and it's ready to be fabricated, I can just take the model and start cutting and then assemble it. And it's going to take it'll alleviate a lot of time for me, so I can start working on my other projects. I also want to start getting videos out regularly. I was doing good for a while back in, let's see, all the way up through like November, I think. And then, I just got slammed at the end of the year last year with custom orders and, production work primarily on top of another NDA build that I'm working on that should be done in the next week or so, and that's gonna free up some time for me as well. But I do want to get back to doing a video a week, at least a video a week, and that shouldn't be hard to do. But it's like I gotta set aside a good 6 to 8 hours a week to get, I don't know, about that's for editing time. To get a good 12-minute video, 10 to 12-minute video, it usually takes me about 6 hours or so to edit. It depends. As also, like, I'm working on a new way to edit or film the videos, so it makes it easier to edit, because that's another part of it, is like if I can kind of make it better while I'm filming, I can alleviate a lot of stress while I'm editing, getting clips dialed in better. What ends up happening is I want to try to talk in the middle of the videos. In reality, I need to just film all the clips of the work and then come back and then do almost like film myself talking like this, and then do a voice as a voiceover video at the end, explaining all the work that I've done in the video, and then go back and like lay it on top of all the edits. And then that'll speed up my editing process. So, I want to be able to get it where I can drop a video with like 4 hours of editing. And then it'll be easy to knock that out every week. And that might even make it where I can knock out 2 videos a week. I set aside one day where all I do is edit 2 videos, and then I can get 2 new videos up on the channel every week. Maybe space them out, edit them all on one day, and then drop one in the middle of the week and one at the end of the week. And then like a podcast on the weekends like this. So what I wanted to do is talk about what you can do to go about getting a custom part made, and what's going to make it easier for me, and what's going to make it more likely that we're going to be able to come to an inexpensive way for you to get a custom part made. And that's going to be having all your dimensions ready. One thing we're really not going to be able to do is like what I like to call like conceptual design. Like if you have like I've had a lot of people come to me and say, okay, well, this is what the inside of my case looks like, and I need something that's going to fit in here. Well, I do not have the time to go. That's a long design process to, first of all, I need all the measurements. Like that's mandatory. So we need to have all the dimensions of the part you want to made. And you kind of have to have it's kind of a give and take. You have to have the idea, and then I'll take the idea and make it happen. But I need your idea, and then I need you to be able to measure your idea, because if I don't have the measurements, I'm not going to be able to do anything on my end. And like really, as long as you can do a rough sketch, like as long as you can just draw it out on paper and use a tape measure and give me the measurements, we can make it happen. But I don't have time to go hunting down what case you have and try to find a model online or ask around and do all that kind of stuff. You're going to have to be able to work the tape measure. You're going to have to be able to give me a good concept of what you want made. And if you got the concept, then I can make it happen. That's basically what it's going to come down to. That's just what I have the time for anymore. I mean, I had a lot more time when I first started this to like kind of say, oh, well, all right, really work from the ground up to get you something made. And you just don't got the time to do that anymore. Things, too many production orders have picked up, and then working on my own stuff, I just don't have time to do that, and that's okay. That's just the that's the evolution of the business, and it's a good thing that that's happening technically. And I might be able to start doing that kind of stuff again when I can go back and get start getting actual employees in the shop with me. That's going to be one step for like next year, is trying to find. At the end of this year, we'll see how this year takes off. I mean, the CNC upgrade is going to be really huge for production and turnaround time, and it's going to give me a better return on investment than the last previous CNC. It's going to be a lot more accurate. I'm going to be able to speed up 10-day production jobs. I'm going to be able to get them down to like 2-3 days now, because once I have the fixtures made for all the parts, like this machine's not accurate enough and precise enough to go back and locate fixtures properly. I mean, it might do it a couple times, but there's going to be more than likely there's going to be a chance where it just goes in and obliterates the fixture that I make. And the fixtures can cost anywhere from like $100 to $500. You could have a couple $100 fixtures, and if the machine's not accurate enough to locate it, and it needs to be able to cut those parts out. I say I make a fixture that is for cutting out a sheet worth of knuckle combs or another product. It has to be able to cut those same parts out in that same spot every single time. And with just stepper motors without encoders, and the little bit of backlash from rack and pinion setup, it's just not going to be reliable to do that. So that's why I'm switching everything over to linear rails, ball screws, and servo motors, and a more industrial, like entry-level industrial controller. So that way I'll be as close as I can to an industrial machine with those kind of capabilities, but for a much cheaper price point. I mean, said and done, I'll have a machine that normally would probably cost 30 grand, something like that. I'll be able to make it for under 15 total. That's with an automatic tool changer spindle and everything, like all the bells and whistles, dedicated air compressor, mist coolant, controller, or chip catch pan and coolant filtering, all that stuff. So the whole reason for the CNC upgrades is to just make more time, just like everything else. But back to the custom work stuff. So when you're use the website for contact form to get in touch, and then just have a rough concept of what you want made. A lot of people are good with that. They want a custom reservoir to fit into somewhere, but the key part and what's going to guarantee you to get your product made and for a reasonable cost is having all your dimensions ready. Like that's the most crucial thing I can tell you, is have all the dimensions roughed out and ready to go. And if it's something where that's just not an option for you, I have some people that I can probably refer you to who are working on, building up their custom order, like, getting custom orders themselves and working on building up their own business. So they have a little bit more time. I know a couple of guys are already backed up too, like the custom order stuff. It takes up a lot of time, but it doesn't pay the bills very well. And that's what I've kind of come to realize. So the way we can make it work is by streamlining this process as best as possible. So that's getting your concept dialed in, getting your dimensions ready to go, and bringing that stuff to me, and being confident in what you want made. And then like I said, it will just if you need something that's kind of just like artistically conceptual, you don't really know what it is yet that you want, you just know you need something to fit here, I'll try to work with you to try to find somebody who can do that for you, or who can at least, I know some other designers out there who just want to do design work, and they don't have machinery, they're not interested in fabricating, but they are interested in taking your unique idea and then creating a 3D model from it. But here's the problem, it's not even the problem, it's just that's a way more costly method of doing things. And that's why I really can't do it anymore. I don't have the time. And if I was going to make the time, it's going to cost way too much. So what I'm going to try to do is, get some of these other designers out there, get them some work, and get some of these other fabricators some work. And while I'm focusing on the production and my own products. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody involved. From the clients, they're going to get a streamlined setup for getting their custom parts made. And we'll be able to dish some work out to some other people. So, let's see. So, I mean, for the most part, I need a sketch. I need a A 3D model is the best. Now here's what else I kind of wanted to branch off into about that is getting, some 3D designing your own 3D parts. So you wanted to, and like I said before, though, a hand-drawn sketch is enough that I can give that to Jeff, and we can get your sketch into a 3D model, within 30 minutes, an hour, and it's only going to it's going to cost minimal. It's going to cost, $50-$60 versus sending a pile of photos and ideas and concepts and saying, well, and not having anything dialed in, and that you're looking at hundreds of dollars to get a design made. So being able to get that tape measure out, get your dimensions in, and kind of really sit down and dial it in yourself. And it's a lot more fun to do that anyway. I mean, that's what drove me and like others to do what we're doing. That's the fun part. The fun part is sitting down and saying, how the hell can I get something that's going to fit in here like this? And I really have this idea in my head and I really want to make it happen. So you just sit down and you start sketching it. I mean, 4 years ago, I had no idea how to use 3D software. I had no idea how to use a CNC machine. I had no idea how to use a milling machine. I had none of these tools. 4 years ago, I was sitting in this garage with a table saw, a Dremel, and I had 3 tables and rattle can paint. And I had basically nothing. 4.5 years, like 5 years ago, I literally had nothing. I mean, I had nothing. And I started got back to work. I started saving my money to buy tools and, started modding, just started making stuff. Like my first mod was just broke down the case and just painted contrasting panels, red and black. And, Asus ROG was just like blowing up and, it was all about just tearing it down and paint something and make it happen. And then I learned from that. I'm like, okay, well now by doing that, I know that I can preemptively do this and this and this and this, and it's going to make things come together so much better at the end. And I used what I learned and I put it all together. And then I had the gray matter build as my second build. I ended up getting it in a magazine and stuff like that. So all it takes is doing your first one and kind of getting the idea of how things should go. And it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot at all. There's people out there that are modding and doing stuff and they don't even touch the 3D software. They don't even touch sketches. They just kind of take measurements and they just go with it. But the key is going to be, so when you're wanting to get custom parts fabricated from other people, there's like kind of 2 ways you can go about doing software. You could do SketchUp, and a lot of people know my opinions on SketchUp, but it's overall, it's not a bad program. It's easy to pick up. It's fast to do, but it's not geared towards actual parametric 3D modeling at all. I honestly don't even know what kind of drawing it would benefit. I mean, the good thing about it is it's fast. It's easy to pick up on. It's straightforward. Like you literally draw all the dimensions. You don't have to have anything really that accurate. You don't have to actually work with, you don't have to work to scale. You can just go off concept. And a lot of times that's what the problem is you can't accurately bring a sketch to life or a model to life. What's up, Des? You can't bring a model to life out of SketchUp, and you can't bring a model to life that's going to get fabricated. I mean, rarely do the dimensions translate over to Autodesk, like to Fusion 360 or SolidWorks or anything useful. Where, not by terms of useful, I mean that I can take and actually fabricate something from. I mean, SketchUp works for people who just want to make artwork, who are just trying to do concept art to, maybe show a sponsor that they have an idea and what they're going to move towards, but they don't, if you want to take those products and parts and you want to make something from them, you're going to need to use some software like Fusion 360, which is like the next best thing to, in terms of money wise, you really can't beat it. I mean, it's like a free version of SolidWorks. SolidWorks definitely has a lot more to offer than Fusion, and it's a lot smoother. And, but Fusion has some things on SolidWorks that I actually like better. So, if you're gonna really get into this and you haven't done any 3D modeling yet, don't go into SketchUp. Go into Fusion 360. Push yourself to learn that, because if you go down the SketchUp road, you're gonna get sucked into that, and it's gonna make it harder to unlearn SketchUp and then try to use Fusion 360. And then you're not gonna want to switch. Like I had to completely. Yeah, it is. It definitely does. Fusion is killer for the price, and you can't beat it. It's free. And for hobbyists, enthusiasts, small business owners making under $100,000 a year, Fusion 360 is free. And for how powerful that tool is, you cannot beat that. And like I was saying, it's hard to go from SketchUp to Fusion. You have to unlearn everything you thought about 3D modeling, and then you have to go relearn a new program. So the UI is going to be different. It's like switching a video game or anything else. You get so used to the way everything's laid out you don't want to go to the new thing because it's so much hard. It's like going from playing with a controller to a keyboard and mouse. You have to unlearn every way you played that video game, even though once you get to the, once you learn the new way of doing it, you're going to be so much better. It just makes it that much harder. So I definitely recommend if you're gonna start 3D modeling, you want to pick up Fusion 360. You really can't beat it, and that's gonna cut the costs on your custom parts like tenfold. So you're going to be able to send over a model that's ready to go. Fusion 360, you can literally share your project with me right in the software. I mean, you don't even have to download the file and email it to me, and it just saves you. It cuts out sometimes anywhere from like $100 to $200 worth of design work because you were able to put it together. And it just takes messing around with Fusion for an hour, half hour a day to get used to it. I mean, some of these projects, I really want to start doing some Fusion tutorials geared towards computer modding, because there's lots of Fusion tutorials out there, but I want to make it easy for someone who's computer modding. That's who's coming to me for custom parts. They're computer modders, and they want a power supply shroud made. They want a reservoir made. They want a solid state shroud made, a GPU backplate. And Fusion is so easy to make these things. And so I want to try to make tutorials geared straightforward to that, because I think it'll make it easier for you to pick up on it if I'm showing you how to make stuff that you want to make. So that's really one of the other things I want to do. And I think I could probably pull that off without having to edit. It just, when I tried doing a couple where I was, recording it and stuff, but I get long-winded with it. And I don't want the tutorials to be too long. So I got to try to like pre-plan it, come out with bullet points of like what I need to say and what I need to do, and like the key things to show you guys, and try to put together a tutorial for that. I really think it'll benefit people, and it'll really get you off the ground really quick. Cause that's the most common thing I get asked to make is custom reservoirs, water manifolds, power supply shrouds, LED lit shrouds and back plates, couple like radiator grills and fan grills and stuff like that. But it's all just like the basic computer mod parts, but that you could go buy from other companies and stuff. But people want custom ones, because that's how you make your that's how you make your project unique. That's why we're modding in the first place, is to make up a project that nobody else has, or do something, put your own twist on your own. It's just artwork. It's however you look at it. So the key to me is finding the right 3D software. And, I can still work from a SketchUp file. I mean, to me, it's no different than a sketch, like a legit, like hand-drawn sketch. Because really, I have to go in and I have to look at the dimensions. I think you can call them out in SketchUp. You can like actually draw them into the file. But, I have SketchUp downloaded, so I can do that. It's better than not having it at all. It's better than not having a sketch or dimensions or anything like that at all. So that's going to be that's the key for you. And that's going to be the quickest way for me to also quote the project and come up with a price and figure things out faster. If I could pull it right up in even SketchUp, or if I could pull it up in Fusion 360 and look at it, I mean, I can get a good idea then and there. I can whip up a couple tool paths and figure out how long it's going to take to cut it. Go check I have the dimensions. I could see the part, visualize it. I could see how much it's going to cost in materials, and I can get a quote or an estimate done in, minutes versus, okay, well, they don't have dimensions. They don't really know what material, might have to paint, and I have to stack up all these different things. And it takes so long to do estimates like that. And, when I have to design it, it's hard to break that down. It's hard to figure out how long it's going to cost, or how long it's going to take me to design this concept that you really don't have the concept for. You're hoping that I can give you the concept. And that's the problem I would say I run into frequently with people wanting custom things made, is they don't have the concept yet. They just have like, well, I saw this somewhere and I saw this somewhere and I want to do that in here. Well, I can't help with that. You have to kind of, do a little bit of research, go and find out, like, okay, well, what material can I use here? Go look at other reservoirs out there, go look at other power supply shrouds out there, and say, okay, well, I got to figure out how far in to measure. I got to figure out how far long to measure, how tall it is. I want to figure out what material I want to use. Do I want to get it painted aluminum? Do I want to use just colored acrylic? And all that is going to change your cost. You can have aluminum that's custom painted. You can have aluminum that's custom painted and airbrushed and using high-end House of Color paints. You can, the options are endless, but the key is knowing exactly what you want and knowing what you want to do. And as long as you know and have a good concept of what you want to do, and you can at least bring me a sketch with your dimensions, we can get your part quoted out and we can get your stuff made pretty quickly. Excuse me. But that's what it kind of comes down to now. And I just don't have the time to do that kind of conceptual, like, I don't have the time to give you the ideas. What I did have an idea of doing though is down the road. I don't know if I'll ever do this or if I'll have time to do this, but it's a lot of time and thought and effort that goes into figuring out how to do this stuff. I mean, nobody that I know that's modding now that, they didn't just like all of a sudden wake up and know how to do everything about what they're doing. I mean, it took years to figure out how you want to, and especially people that I know that are other pro modders that are cranking out builds every month, every 6 weeks and stuff like that. You kind of just look at the case and you know what you can put where and how fast you can do it. And nobody knows how to do that right away. I mean, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes repetition. And, I try to, like that's the part that you want to know though. That's the part that you want to do. Like, that's what makes all of this fun, is figuring out that concept. It's almost like cheating. If you want to go have somebody do everything for you, I mean, it's kind of like, you'll have something cool at the end, but all the fun is deleted from it. I mean, it's cool to have that finished product, but at that point, hunt down some parts that are already pre-made and buy them and put them in your mod and do a little modding yourself to them, hit them with some paint or do something different. That's what's going to make it unique, is your own twist on it. And you can't put your own twist on an idea that you don't even have yet. So, bring me your design, bring me your dimensions. Dimensions are a mandatory thing basically from here on out. So come on up with shoot me an email, use the contact form on my website, send me the dimensions, a rough sketch. All you got to do is draw it on paper and take a picture with your cell phone and email it to me. It's that easy. Power supply shroud. Go look at all the builds out there. It's just, it's simple to draw that out in a mocked up 3D sketch, even on paper. You know how to draw a 3D cube on paper with the lines going out to the sides. Just draw the angles and write down the measurements, and I'll take that, give it to Jeff. We'll get in a 3D model, and we'll talk it over with Jeff before I actually put out the estimate. I'll figure out with him how much it's going to cost to get the design whipped up for me to fabricate, and we'll come up with that as soon as it's paid for. Jeff will get in touch with you, figure out, get all the information. He'll probably be in the email chain at some point, even before that. We still got to work out all that. I'm going to have a call with him soon through Skype and iron out all the details, and you'll talk back and forth with him and get your design whipped up into 3D model, and he'll send that to me through Fusion, and I'll get it fabricated and shipped out for you. So we're kind of rounding out. I wanted to just do like about a half-hour episode this time. Kind of just lay out the basics of what you should bring to the table when you want to get something fabricated, and that we can't really take the time to do the conceptual design work anymore, at least for now. That's going to be on pause for the foreseen future. And and then the 3D modeling software, if you want to use SketchUp because it's easier, do it. It's better than not taking the time to do anything, but I really do recommend, especially if you haven't modeled yet, go to Fusion 360 first. It is a little bit trickier to learn, but once you actually get the flow down, the initial flow of how the part, basically in SketchUp, it's the difference of drawing in 3D, where you take a line and you draw it in all dimensions. That's how you do it in SketchUp. In Fusion, you draw it in 2D, and then you pull that sketch, you extrude it or cut away from it. So, and then you can draw a sketch on each one of the faces. So you draw a rectangle, extrude it out. Then you have 6 faces now to draw a sketch on, and then you can cut away. And then you basically sculpt your 3D part from that. Once you get the flow down to that, if you could take 2 parts from SketchUp and Fusion 360, once you had the flow down for either one, you'll be able to do it way quicker in Fusion 360 or any parametric modeling software. Yeah, that's the other thing. SketchUp has there's no solid body. So that's the problem too, is once you're done with the model, you don't actually have a body when you're done. So I can't take that part and do anything with it in my 3D modeling software. If I take your SketchUp file and try to load it into Fusion, it has no reference points. It has no geometry. So it can't even convert your 3D model to a true parametric model sketch or a model body. So I don't have anything I can even work from and program my CNC to cut. So that's the main problem with SketchUp. But it comes down to like what you're willing to pay for it. Now, you could take the extra time to learn Fusion 360 and send me a proper 3D model, and you're going to eliminate so much cost off of your custom part. I mean, you're looking at probably $100-something, depending on what you need made or what you need designed. From like a manifold that might take an hour to design or something like that, you're looking at saving probably $60 to $70. It just all depends on the complexity and, you know, how many channels, how many fitting holes, all that kind of stuff. But like, however, you know, you're saving a lot of time on your design. So by sending me a Fusion 360 model. But don't be discouraged. Go out and, you know, do whatever's easiest for you. I would recommend honestly just doing a hand sketch before learning SketchUp. If take your time to learn Fusion, until then, send me some hand sketches. And yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to wrap up this episode here. We're at about 30 minutes. So thanks to anybody who watched and who will watch. Des, thanks for checking in. I'll talk to you later, man. And yeah, that's it for the Clockwerk Modcast episode 1. I'm going to do my best to kind of update the equipment around here slowly and like maybe get a better webcam, better camera setup. We'll see how things go and like how this podcast does as time progresses. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I will see you later.